needed, but at the end of the call we can decide what to do with it.
You just I can no longer hear you.
Sorry, I
You're
said
back.
I'd just start recording, just in case we get into something that we want to save.
Yeah, cool.
So you got my screen, right? You can see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so we really need to get to a point where we can have bots running and have like a, I don't know, like a good purpose for the bots or something. We still don't really have evals or things like that. Now I know that, you know, most of that's my
By
fault.
bots, you mean naps?
Yeah, or things that have system prompt plus context.
Yep.
And this playground, you know, you can hit 01 now. I assume that 01 mini is going to have roughly the same parameters. So if you set media reasoning, if it's a high, there's some stuff, you know, developer messages of the new sys prompt. And then shit, man, that's kind of that's as good as we can prepare for 03, I think.
I'm glad to see Sysprom's back.
Yeah,
That's very
sysprom's
helpful.
back. Sysprom's back.
We dump the naps. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where you get your prompting, right?
Yep.
Then can I throw away all the stuff that's in storage? All this stuff?
I think so.
It's very old.
What was the last date of the last?
Most recent one was
The last thing that was
August.
done?
EFR-SR.pdf. We can dump all that?
Yeah. That was so old. Yeah, dump it.
Alright, that's cool. Oh no. You can't. Am I gonna have to sit here and click each and every one?
Doesn't matter. Oh no, really?
Ach
You
no.
can't control click or
You're
something?
an AI company. You're an AI company. I expect better of you.
It'd be so easy. I mean, they could just get the bot to write the code to allow you to like mobile select.
They don't do that sort of thing, eh? Okay, anyway, Canvas with 01. I got it going sort of, but it doesn't work with Pro for starters, but it's like it doesn't do maths.
Okay, so to get those maths renders, we still need to go to 1 Pro. But
Well,
what's the have you done any experimentation between 01 High versus 01 Pro?
I've done loosely. I prefer 01 Pro's output, but I haven't really tested it thoroughly enough to really call it one thing or the other. I'm frustrated that 01 Pro it is said to be different and more than just 01 with high reasoning. I don't know what. I feel like I kind of, because 01 Pro is kind of the first one that's smarter than us, I feel like we have to use it because we don't know enough about artificial intelligence to not have the absolute best. Like, that's just my strategy. I'm like,
yeah, the thing I'd add to that is that you know, this workflow that I've been doing where you run it 6 times and then each of those 6 you run through 6 evaluations. I could do 3 and 3, and then we could probably get some stats about what the deviations are. The
that's absolutely. I just I think that we won't actually know. Like, we gotta actually ask some really tough problems for that difference to become apparent. And, you know, what do we do when 03 gets here? You know, like, it's at a point all of our questions become answered by even the shitty form of the bot. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I think it'd be helpful. It might not be the best use of immediate time, but I think long term, actually understanding how O1, O1 Pro and O3 have evolved will give us a better understanding of
Yeah, I
O3. But
know,
that's
but
just a
that's like
hunch.
how do we even do that? It was just yeah. There's very little information out there that I could find. Hmm. Um
Yeah.
so with Cursor, what I've noticed, sorry, with Canvas, what I noticed is that even though it doesn't display the math formulas, if you copy it, it is actually writing the math formulas, but it's just not
Mm-hmm.
displaying it. So it's a UI bug in Canvas, which I expect that they will fix
Oh.
soon.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, well,
But you could render it. So how's it going to answer this?
oh, I don't know. It was I don't know. Yeah,
Should
but
I? Oh yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Fine.
yeah. Um, so
All right.
that's looks like it might be helpful. I found something really interesting about
Mm-hmm.
several fun things with Bolt. I don't know. Is this? I'm just going through stuff that I found that was cool. Is that is that a
Yeah,
good thing
please.
to do?
It's just on my side. It's just good to return to normality after weirdness over the weekend
Okay.
with the storm.
Okay. Cool.
So feel free
Um.
to do an entire speakeasy.
Yeah. Sure. All right. So this whole thing, right, as awesome as it is, and this was during that
Mm-hmm.
recorded conversation that I sent over to you. This was the chat that I
Mm-hmm.
was having with Bolt, asking it to
Mm-hmm.
do stuff, and I was asking it to make um a Gmail clone. Hang on a second. Oh, oh, what are you doing? Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad. And so just by chatting with it while I was sort of talking to the guys, uh, this was what Bolt made with like, and I was doing like, oh, the
Here's a
stars
cute.
don't do something. You know, when I click on it, what does it do? You know, or when
Wait,
I
what's this? Are these all synthetic uh, emails,
yeah, it's all test
or
data.
is
It's all
this
test
actual?
data that it made, but
Yeah,
it just built this UI where typically like that would take a while, to be honest.
it would.
And you know you
Okay.
can make changes to it. You know, like you can just chat with it and you get new stuff, which is remarkable. Send. Oh no.
That is remarkable, actually.
Yeah.
Um, and there is an incoming, should we choose, of course, of kind of putting it off uh, until we're in a position. But there is potentially quite a sizable app um, that I've not mentioned her name, but it's come through Marla, who works in M&A, and her asks are really simple. And if you can throw up this through chat, I think even Marla could throw up this in chat if it's this easy. How much
I
correction did you have to do?
nothing, but there's a big difference between getting the bot to do something from its flop and getting some deliverable production grade thing. Like this gets you to
Oh yeah, yeah.
80% in
But
like no time, but you still need to understand what's
as a
happening.
demo,
Yeah, it's a demo.
yeah. But as a demo, yeah. Okay, that's good.
But I
All right.
guess no, you actually still need to know what to ask because you need to say like what libraries do you want to use? Um, You need to know, like I knew that the best thing to start with was this option, right? Scaffolding UI with Shad Cien was the best way to go. It's still, it can be deceptive how easy it can look, but there's a lot of options there's a lot of places you could go wrong.
Right. Okay. So it's not polite enough. Or
It's
good enough
nowhere
for polite
near,
society.
nah, it's nowhere near enough that you could just give it to someone and expect something back. But for people who have done this their whole life, I think they would find it trivial.
Yeah.
So what I found that was very interesting, oh, actually, one more little fun thing. Native script. I don't know if have you got your iPhone there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can you scan this bar? Can you?
Shit. Yeah, but I'm in VR.
Oh,
Right, I'll
goddamn.
take
Yeah, that's right. No, don't
photo
worry.
of it, transfer it, and then do it.
Oh no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But all I'm trying to get at is that I didn't realize it, but there's this amazing platform called NativeScript, and what it does is it allows me to write Android and iOS apps using JavaScript. But the key thing that makes it a breeze is that if you go and install their base NativeScript app and then scan that QR code, then their app becomes our app. And it's, for testing purposes, it's straight away a native iOS app that has access to the native functions and all that. And I can sit here and chat to it, and then those changes immediately show up on your phone.
That is pretty cool.
It's remarkable. If you consider the friction of getting an app published in the Apple App Store and then deployed on your phone.
You still need to go through their authorization process and that sort of thing, I assume.
No, well, not for this testing version. It doesn't. But when you publish, yes, you do.
Ah, right.
But only when you publish do you have to go through all that.
All right.
So you can have like a temporary version or a test version. I mean, and if it's only the two of us, then it's more than fine. Like, you can get an app running on a phone with just a browser and the target device. That's while you're chatting about the changes you want in the app on the target device. That's just blew my mind, actually. Yeah. So anyway, I see you're not really impressed there. That's fine. That's fine.
No. I'm multitasking. I'm getting up this QR code so you can have a look.
Okay, I can share this onto WhatsApp, this QR code.
No, I've already got it. I just took a screen grab. Oh, let's see if it works.
This will be funny.
Where's it sent it? Or maybe just send it over WhatsApp. That might be quicker.
You also need to install the NativeScript app from the App Store.
Okay. Yep, let me do that. Okay, I'm looking at React Native Review. Well, there's not many. showing iPhone and iPad results. So I've got native learn. So forget that. CS native scripting. Don't think that's it. Got
Did you
React native review.
did you download what are you looking at? The App Store.
I'm in the App Store and I've typed in native script.
Yeah, and did you get anything that had an icon that looks like this blue icon?
Where am I looking?
This native script preview.
Right. Okay. I'll give it exact. I put in a space. No results.
What? Lies.
Native script preview by N Studio. I'm getting no results.
I sent you the link to that app.
And there it is. Oh, I know what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
Nice. Let's go by her.
What are you doing?
On my laptop. Get. Click installing. Okay.
What are you doing?
Aha. Right, I have the QR codes and Descript app is open. Ask me to sign in, of course, because everyone wants to track you. Installed and running. And oh, is building something.
Did you click on the or show the QR code?
Syncing, refreshing. Yep.
Oh, yep. Here we go. iPhone. Gotcha.
Yep. Allow. Please tap me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now there you go. So hang on a second. Just wait there. Now you have got. Now I can change the text here and change that to FAP. And now did the button text change?
It did. It now says FAP.
Right. So basically,
hey, that's fucking amazing.
That is amazing, right? Is that not amazing? Is that not the most amazing thing that you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is absolutely fucking awesome.
Yeah. And you can write the whole app using this AI tool to do the layout. And it just rolls out in iPhone, the most difficult of platforms in the whole world, apart from embedded devices. Yeah. And now we can make like, I wouldn't even say crappy iPhone apps. They're pretty good. And
well, you could make, yeah. Well, you got access to anything you want to do. You can make it crappy, you can make it good, but it's
Yeah,
not the platform that's saying it's going to be crappy.
that's right. That's right.
Huh.
So yeah, I thought that was fabulous, but that wasn't the cool thing. The
Right.
cool thing,
That's not the cool thing.
nah,
That
that's
is
not the
very
cool
cool.
thing. The cool thing is that this entire interface, this Bolt interface, turns out it's open source.
Uh-huh. Oh.
So
Uh-huh. Good boys.
I was just like, okay, we'll just copy that, I guess, because they got some nice things in this interface. This is yeah. Yeah, but that's actually
That's
all the
brilliant. And it's on Google Play as well.
yeah. So Android
Hmm.
and iPhone, and you can make these apps that are like it made it a really nice experience because half the time you don't really care about it looking that pretty. You just kind of want it to, you know, just want it to
Right.
jolly well work.
Right, but everyone else seems to want to look pretty.
Well, look pretty
Um,
costs a lot of money, and if you just want to get up and running, this system is definitely it. Yeah.
well, I don't see what more you need to make it look pretty because the language of apps is now well understood.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I would assume if you talk to the bot, it's going to know if you say, right, I'd like a map and a button
Yeah.
that says find
That's
me
right.
or whatever, it's going to do it.
That's right.
And it's going to do it in a pretty way.
Right. Okay, and then the latest version of Cursor's out, 045. The
Okay.
updates are rolling. It took me
Uh,
2 days since they announced for me to get my update.
what was what's the diffs from the last version?
But
Or was it just
what's the
back,
diffs?
bug fixes and that sort of thing?
Nope, there was some decent diffs. I'll pull them up. Hang on. If I can get my mouse cursor to work. Oh Christ! If I do maximize in the. Oh, you motherfucker. Okay. Cursor. Change log.
So quality level rules to disk. The cursor rules. That's interesting. Summarize previous composers and conversations go to. That's that second one. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I'm been getting really good results with that.
Yeah.
Because it pulls out the interesting information and then squishes what is a very long thread into something
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah. Long context is back
Agencies, recent
finally.
changes. Hey,
Hey.
option to request a larger context window with premium models. Happy days. What models Cursor are using now? Is it still stuck at 01?
Well, they got 01, but they got some new ones. These DeepSeek.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The
All right.
DeepSeek models are
Yeah,
there.
DeepSeek's pretty good actually. Have you messed around with that yet?
I haven't used it, but I hear good things.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The R1, I think that's DeepSeek R1, the reasoning model from DeepSeek. So
Yeah.
but that's that. That's all that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's all new toys, which is good.
I'm still bloody well stuck on getting the CRM up. Like it's kind of kicking my ass.
Yeah. Last call, you were like raving to go. And,
I know. I was.
full,
And then I
full
sort
speed
of
ahead.
I know, and I got all these bits and I just maybe I am actually very close, but I just realized I had to do like another refactor and another architectural change in how I was doing things, and it's just, I don't know, it's very frustrating because I have all this power and yet I can't seem to make it work. I can do all the bits wonderfully, effortlessly almost, compared to doing them before, like, but still I can't put it all together. I feel like I'm very close, but I am still not there, is the fact of the matter, the depressing fact. So
I don't know if this is any help, and you probably already have tried this and or dismissed it. But I'm finding that increasingly my job is to maintain a state board of things that I've noticed, so that so I don't stop at the first one and then go and fix that and then redo it all, because that seems to be a very inefficient way of doing it. Um, Maintain a state board of a single read through. It's like, okay, I've noticed this, I've noticed this, I've noticed this, and then I go back up to the top and fix each one, but not assess the results. But the cumulative results of all the things that I've noticed is the next thing I then assess, as opposed to assessing on each change. I don't know if that's of any help whatsoever, but I found that
yeah, I mean,
absolutely necessary.
Yeah, it'd be good to show you how I go about it. I think I'm quite efficient in terms of how many plates I can have spinning concurrently while I do things, and the skill I've been picking up is how to ask actually hard questions that I typically would have assumed to be only my business, and the types of problems that I typically wouldn't even have clearly laid out myself, and I just kind of muddled my way through them. For example, this question, I was like, okay, I had an idea for a new type of architecture for how to do Artifact. And so I got it to do me a version using this new idea. I was like, here's the old stuff, here's the essence of the new idea, make me the new one. Okay, did it pretty good. And then I said to it, okay, well, now I need an architectural overview and this is one of the hard problems of building Artifact, is that the interface needs to be the same whether you're inside a NAP, whether you're inside a NAP talking to another NAP, or whether you're completely outside the system, like in a browser, and calling in. And the programming interface needs to be the same shape. And I was like, how do I do that? And it laid out. When I read it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of the only way it can be. That's pretty good. Give me a sketch of what this interpreter looks like. And I'm like, yeah, I like bits about that, I don't like other bits. So I basically, the trick seems to be to get even your hardest of problems into a form where you can ask the bot. It will, at the very least, it will expand how you think about it.
Yes. Yeah, totally agree. And I've started to pride myself on pro tasks that go above 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It just feels good. I'm sitting watching it, reasoning.
Yeah. Yeah, good on you, buddy. I'm not
If
very
it
good at
returns in
making
30
those.
seconds, yeah. If it comes back in 30 seconds or a minute, it's like I've not asked the right
Yeah,
question.
I get ones that are only like, 30 seconds or something like that. I guess I'm not a very hard person to please. I guess that was a bit of a grind. So what am I trying to get to? I can see the essence of a platform, just like we have for years now. but none of those platform features are really what's essential. We need basically these math formulas for how attribution occurs, because as soon as I think of anything I want to do with this platform, as soon as equity sharing comes up, immediately I hit, oh no, we need ambient attribution. And that basically happens instantly. Like,
yeah, yeah, and I'm still confident that I'm close to getting the math formulas for ambient attribution for n dimensions, where the dimensions can be added in um, depending on the instantiation of the algorithm. As in, we care about how many lines of code, we care about code usage, that sort of thing. And so it's abstracted away. I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that that is not far away. In fact, before the storm hit, I was expecting it to give you something to look at tomorrow.
Oh wow, okay.
But being put back.
Yeah, I guess it's just becoming apparent that is the thing to solve. All these other things, they're all just fancy little toys. And,
Yeah.
we're going to have very soon a platform that can do those, 6 runs and pick the commonality. All those types of things are actually mechanical in comparison. And I actually can't wait to get into them.
Yeah. The one of the things I think I mentioned over text, but it's the in the cut and paste world, it's the thing that takes it most is the it's almost like a promise style async, do this then that, so that essentially what I'm doing is I'm cutting and pasting the same prompt 6 times, and then I'm sitting there waiting. Some come back faster, some come back slower, and
Oh
so
yeah.
on, and then taking each of those into the next. So it's like um, it's yeah, it's basically a logic-based workflow where you're only dealing with one thread, but also forgetting what it's how it got there. It just looks at the result for the next part, which I'm not sure is going to work, but it hopefully will. If it doesn't, then it's just a matter of kicking off another browser or another session completely. What's this? My map. What's that?
No, there was this app I saw that I liked the user interface that it had, and it basically it was kind of each time you'd ask a question, instead of giving you back the big response that we typically get out of O1, it would break it apart into the tips of a mind map. And so you could touch on the ones you wanted to explore further, but it would do the categorization and visually present it as mind map options, and you could choose which ones you wanted to follow or expand. And it just seemed like a really nice way to illustrate. Like when you want to learn about something, you can.
Yeah, that's it's a good design tool, isn't it? It's not
Oh wait,
necessarily a
this isn't
pure
doing what this is the wrong one. Sorry, this is the wrong one.
deployment.
Because this is like the user adding things in. The one I saw was where you ask your prompt and then it comes back with like 3 nodes that are what you could have meant, and then you click on each one. And so to do what you're doing, where you want to just refine the prompt more, you'd go back up the tree and you'd insert another question which would generate more stuff using the context at that particular point in the map, in the tree.
Oh, okay. And that's this service here, mymap.info.
No, it's not. I can't find the one I'm thinking about, so I didn't realize there were so many.
Oh no, you're dangling it. Oh, okay.
Sorry. But anyway, I just thought that we should pirate that that user interface or that view, because that's that's
it's a great way to rapidly improve your prompts, but also when we deal with nap to nap, what we want to know is with some certainty what's being sent to the next one, which is why going down the kind of probabilistic assurance of with an assurance with the probability, this is converging or diverging.
But these are all just expressions of tools that are currently the best thing we can think of. They will be superseded. These are all just
possibly overnight.
yeah, and it's really like we only need as much tooling as the smallest amount to get the prize, which is those formulas. And what I want to do once we have those formulas is I'm convinced that we can, and hear me out here because it sounds a bit bogus, but I'm convinced that we can create a cryptocurrency out of those formulas that is based on the stabilizing of pooled attribution. So
sure, it's like what's the name of that index linked company that is always beats the market just by a relative small margin, but all it's doing is it puts in an equal amount on the FTSE 100. Everything makes no decisions. They've got about 6 staff.
Right.
They run a huge fund. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, so it's that sort of thing, because the trouble with having ambient attribution credits is that it's hard to spend it early, and it is hard to stabilize it. But I'm convinced that we can produce a bot that can, a very simple bot that can allow you to spend your future attribution early. And so that's kind of what I've got my eye on as soon as we get past this formulas problem. Is like, okay, how do we turn it into a cryptocurrency? Because that's what I think it should be.
I see no problems with that concept. Let me think a bit more. What do you mean by spend early?
Spend early means that it goes hand in hand with spend stably. Spend early means that the majority of attribution has value in the future, not right now. But now is when you need to spend money. The future is when you will have money. And so a system that allows that to be smoothed out and averaged out so that the risk of the future is diminished in exchange for something. So basically, like, you could buy into future attribution, and the bot would have sort of done the calculations to average it out to some acceptable degree and verified that it's, legitimate attribution and all that kind of thing. So it'd be like having a permanent market maker for your attribution that you could draw on whenever you wished.
Sounds a lot like futures for the likes of corn and beets and all that kind of agricultural stuff.
Yeah, it is, but it's like future profit shares that are going to come from this thing.
But it's like we plant our software, and I need money in order to do that, so I'll sell you this at a future price.
Right.
You buy that, I can, and there's a risk there, and so there's obviously a premium.
Yeah. But it's like
sounds like this problem's being solved. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Just in a different
solved.
area.
It's like,
yeah,
corn is corn is corn. Well, not to be rude to the corn growers, but compared to software, corn is much simpler. And so a machine that can appreciate or look at certain signals and appraisals on how a piece of software is going, but as well as that, it would be including skims on the computational marketplace where people can offer up their computing resources for trade, either trade direct, trade time delayed, or trade for assets. Really what I'm talking about is turning the ambient attribution into an asset, because at the moment you trade assets for getting work done, which gives you future attribution, but we also need a mechanism to turn attribution back into an asset so it can be traded.
Sounds like that we're stepping into securities.
Absolutely. But this is the time. That's what I'm getting at. Like, all of the big the major coins launched so early that the regulation wasn't really able to nab them. And looking at the way Binance played things, they won because they sort of said, we're going to just throw caution to the wind and ignore regulation for the sake of growth, and then we're going to come back around and pay the fines, deal with the fallout, but we'll be the biggest and we'll have these massive revenue streams. And arguably that was the right call to make. Risky, sure, but they kind of took all the oxygen out of the room. And so yes, to some degree what I'm talking about is security, but the securities regulation is about to just get shredded, like absolutely shredded, and we should be ready for that.
I agree with that. I think there's going to be a great loosening. We don't know what shape or form that's going to be.
A hell loosening.
A time of chaos, and so if we are, I guess, honest and direct with the customer, we can at least, if wherever the law goes,
I think we can get away with a slap on the wrist.
We'll be okay.
Yeah, even if as long as we're being honest, like that's the requirement for us to personally be okay doing it. The regulation might be against us, but I'm willing to take a bet that the regulation will loosen so much that very little will happen.
Well, you just have to look at meme coin to see where the wind's prevailing.
Yeah. And so I guess that's what I think we should do, because I'm looking at the speed at which we can make software. Okay, sure, I'm having some teething problems, but I can still make some really hard software very fast. I just can't seem to put it together. I can make components and I can put it together. And I know that the designs that we have, which are basically just, immutable data structures coupled with execution, they can support a cryptocurrency of the same caliber as what these other coins are that have like, $2 billion, $3 billion, $30 billion market caps. And some of the guys that made those coins, I have been on stage with those guys at investor conferences. I know these people, and I'm like, you're not, their systems aren't that great, and they're still the same systems.
As far as I can see, they're not that smart. Yeah.
Well, they're smart guys, but it's a hard problem. And their systems remain stagnant since about 2017. when it all got baked and done and launched. And I'm like, where's your new features? Oh, wow. What's your market cap? Billions. And you're like, well, if there's nothing new.
They're frightened. They're frightened of killing the golden goose.
No, not even that. I think that the goose is not malleable. The goose will not be moved, and it's still a fundamentally unsolved problem to make a general purpose blockchain that can replace the likes of AWS and can run on edge equipment. A dark edge blockchain, it's not out there. And so we can make one with these two seemingly unrelated properties. Number one is this massively distributed marketplace for I want to call it labor. I think we need some other words for it, but we're saying that human labor and machine labor is actually the same substance. And so you're buying like computing resource, you're buying computed intelligence, flesh intelligence, you're basically trading knowledge or knowledge capacity. And that's one aspect that warrants having a currency and can support a currency. And then this other one is the concept of attribution or ambient attribution, which is like the equity side of any knowledge work. And we're saying that those two things, it's almost like they should be combined, or definitely they can be combined, but I want to say they should be combined, but maybe they don't have to be. It just seems better if they are. That's all.
No, I think, I mean, this is a topic we've gone over a few times in various generations of thought. But there's two things in hand here, isn't there? There is effort and output, and output can include future output or output at an event. Effort can't really be assessed until you see the impact. The effort, I think, at one point we were talking about in terms of joules, which is warm to my heart because it was a Scotsman who generated the watt. But it's that kind of engine. So I think I remain convinced there is a connection between these. I think we're very close to that connection. The question comes into how well we can weld those two together, because on the effort side, we can do brute force effort like stupid stuff that like Elance used to do with recording your screen. If you're typing away at your keyboard, that's effort. That's pointless. If you sit there and just write one line of code, that has a big impact and therefore has lots of output, including future output, that is valuable. And that's what we're working on. Well, actually, I think that's what we've got. We just need to encode it. So I think those two absolutely go together, because what's the point of effort with output? What's the point of output that's not attributed to inspiring additional effort? But then you get a self-stoking cycle if you get that right. To use another engine metaphor. I don't think we're that far away. Your idea of futures, I haven't thought about in detail. I think we did talk about it.
Yeah, it's just the concept is we really need a stable coin internal to the system, just because if we don't have intrinsic value, we are at the mercy of the external value. And that becomes a problem because a lot of people won't claim their attribution. It'll just sit there for a while. And so if it sits there and they come back and it's worth less, that's sort of, it's sort of fair, but it's also sort of like we could have done better than that. And there's also the thing sorry.
Sorry.
The thing I'm really
if
trying to
there's additional
capture.
point.
Oh,
Mhm.
some latency. My bad. Off you go.
No, this just reminded me of a conversation I think we had. Oh God, it must be last March when we were talking about someone's contribution uh, being able to be sold, and so the results of the attribution could be um, fragmented, which sounds a lot like a coin. Um, so you do a bit of work, and it produces output at set time events. Maybe in the future it's going to be more, maybe it's going to be useless, but it's there to be sold, and it's there. It could be sold in fractions.
Yep.
And then you've got something that you can actually could be sold. And how do you sell it?
Yeah. So what I'm talking about is a system that will stabilize that, because when you do what you just described in isolation, the variance and the risk is extreme. But if you can aggregate it across many different things like a pool, then it can be much more predictable and much more stable. Then if you add in
So, sorry, go ahead.
the real thing
My
I'm
bad.
trying to capture is that, as if you imagine that we make a marketplace for knowledge resources, and that marketplace, if we imagine that marketplace starts to grow, and let's give it a best case that it grows exponentially, there is, for all the throughput, the daily throughput of computation of trade, where it's assets for computational resource, there is an opportunity there to inflate the price slightly as a means of skimming intrinsic value for the platform. Now, I don't know if that falls under fair or not fair, or just simply irrelevant to fair or not, where it's simply just a mechanical maneuver that we could do. But it feels to me like if you build something, a network, and the network grows explosively, you have a right to capture some of that value in a tradable asset somehow. And so an intrinsic store of value that expresses that growth is it doesn't feel wrong. It is invented, but it's capturing something real. So it's, and if we don't do it, then where would that value pressure go?
Okay, pause. Okay, prior to pause, can we take as read? I see no problems with putting a coin in here. In fact, I think it probably begs a coin. Okay, so pause. Um, so similar to uh, similar and dissimilar. Bear with me on this one. Similar to the gold standard, where you pegged a currency against the amount of gold that you could like store in a vault. Um, it's different because the software is not the same, and so there's risk. That's fine. So then we move on. Is similar to a stock market, where the risk is not the same, and so there's a judgment call. However,
You also,
scary
you're
when
not,
you go into a stock market.
yeah, you're not factoring in the fact that separately there's value exchange for raw computation, which is very predictable.
Yes, but that's the same as building a power station. Given the design, very predictable what you're getting, less predictable what the price you're getting. But generally speaking, the margins on power generation is relatively stable and relatively low margin. Great for pension pots, that sort of thing. I'm thinking about further down the line where you can buy stock in an individual company. Fine, high risk, because if that company fucks up and the idea doesn't work, then you're wiped out. If you buy an into an index linked fund, you can buy at various levels. You
Right.
can
It's almost
choose,
like
for
we're
example,
making a simple AI powered index fund for attribution that's also tied to the power generation side as well. So it will set the price of the power generation margins based on some principles, and it will also assess which attributions are successful enough to be included in the index fund that people can buy into,
yeah,
where you can buy bits of
yeah,
the index fund and it'll go up, or if you were in the index fund just by virtue of having left your internal currency sitting in the Dreamcatcher for the contributions you made, if you left your attribution untouched, then it's also naturally just sitting in the index fund. And so it's a way of
yeah.
making the unclaimed attributions sort of active, or at least intelligently managed so that it goes up while you're not around.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's
And in
there's the computational resource exchange, which is the raw base that's just pure energy for assets. And then there's the second layer up is the value of what you did with that intellectual computation, and that's where attribution comes in. So there's the raw
mm,
wattage for the silicon use. That's bedrock. That's like the foundation of the currency. And then on top of that is the speculative form, which is the future value of the utility of the computation that was conformed, the performed, the attribution of the intelligence.
yes, and there's two layers above that, of course. First one you've already talked about, which is an index-linked fund, which takes everything that's being considered by attribution as one. So you're saying, is this whole idea good? There's nothing to stop any slicing and spicing. I only want to deal with naps that have to do with, I don't know, quantum computing or agriculture or climate change, or and I can go into the conceptual realm. I only want things that work on solving hard maths. Doesn't matter. Anyone can set up an index link, and then that's kind of cutting and slicing. But at the start, an overall index link of the entire thing is a judgment call on whether attribution is going to work. And then there's the next one, which you mentioned at the top of the call, which was futures, where you could actually sell at a price, or you could offer a price at a point in the future, betting on whether it's going to go up or down. That's your job to do. So you could, if someone's thinking this attribution thing, I'm going to buy a future on the entire attribution index. I think it's going to go up. I'm going to give you money now, and whatever its value is at the time that it vests, that's mine. Sounds perfectly plausible. It sounds like we
Okay,
need a lawyer.
if we,
Um,
mate, we got O1 Pro and we got O3 Pro coming. I don't feel like yeah.
well,
So
that's true. Yeah, we need. Yeah, it
so
sounds entirely plausible.
yeah, if that system was up and running, would our job be
Mm.
done?
Um, well, yeah, because we will be acting as the likes of London Stock Exchange or Frankfurt. That's our job to run the thing.
No, we would be have lost control of it. It's a decentralized AI.
Well, sorry, yes. But there needs to be ongoing governance because the governance at the start is going to be incorrect. We need a mechanism for that. We'll be
Right.
involved in that, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't
So
be
yeah, but
just
we'd
on day
be
one. It would be you and me, but we'd
yeah
invite others in. Yeah,
on day 100. It would be you, me, and a bunch of other people who were competing on equal terms to provide improved versions of this thing,
right,
because
right.
this feedback mechanism that's part of the formulas that you are developing is the same feedback mechanism for any AI powered system, including the management of the index fund.
Yeah,
The
and index
selection,
funds
the
have the
selection,
benefit. Sorry.
you go, buddy.
Uh, Um, I was about to say something really obvious that the index funds could be dynamic, as in pop-up index funds that
Yeah.
run for a
Look,
while and are
yeah,
entirely AI based.
you could be, and people would be welcome to do that, but that's independent from the need for a base stable, a deeply stable one that's sort of intrinsic. Like it's the only one that's baked into the protocol. All the others are on top of the protocol, and they should not suffer because
Yeah,
of that. But we're saying that for the smoothest, most accelerant operation of the Dreamcatcher, an intrinsic currency is required. And that currency needs to be
yeah,
formed not of a portion or a division of a finite resource that increases as its scarcity and demand grows, but it's simply an intelligent appraisal of the intellectual benefit or growth of the computations that are being performed within this network, which is a really fancy form of money, really, because it's not based on even a token cap or market cap or account. It's based on a live appraisal, a judgment.
it's an interesting. There'd be some interesting dynamics here, aren't there? Because
Super
naturally, that
interesting.
index fund would have an AI interface where anyone who chooses can go and ask any question of it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's intelligent. It's
And
chattable.
it's the same AI with the same information,
Hmm.
and they make their own judgment call. Um,
And when you talk, it
Being
may
under a lot of
learn. It may
feedback loops
change.
and so on. Yeah, it should tend towards stable and would certainly be able to detect when it's becoming unstable.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
once we have this system, though, are we done?
Once we have that, I think yes, we're absolutely done.
So is then the establishment of a
Because
currency? Oh, I'm sorry, because
um, because it fulfills what we've been trying to do, which is a permissionless um, system, etc., etc., etc. Anyone in the world can go in and solve a stuck,
but
uh, generate cash,
why does the
and
appearance
get.
of a currency seem to be the milestone that indicates success in an innovation network? Doesn't that seem a bit absurd?
I, no, because it's fine if you've got other sources of income, but if you have to spend 2 weeks on a stock that you don't even know is going to be used, be quite nice to get paid up front. Now, at the moment, we've got investors um, in terms of the definition of investors uh, who may pay you or may not pay you. But if there's a currency there and you generate a stock,
But
and
why? Yeah,
it's
but
like, okay,
why wouldn't US
let's go.
dollars suffice for that? Why is there an intrinsic currency that is directly bound to the innovation performance of the system? Why is the incentive mechanism so definitive of the operation of the system? The things you just described simply don't highlight why that connection's there, because US dollars could be used in your scenario.
Well, sure, but the US dollars are coming from investors,
Yeah.
whereas it's almost like every stock that you solve is immediately going public.
But that would be happening anyway, right? It's just, oh, you're saying that the fact that, oh, so the key speed up is the instantaneous monetization of your future attribution that you don't have to sit around waiting for. So we're effectively saying that even though we make a simulator that can calculate what we think your expected return is, we are now saying that we're allowing a fund to exist that will buy that from you, at the going rate, or whatever it is. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying, and that's important because to monetize the innovators as maximally as possible is the maximum innovation throughput, right?
right. And not everyone has the space to spend 2 weeks of their effort and then wait ages for some kind of payout event.
Okay, there's something really big
They need
there.
to.
There's something really big there. Why does the collapsing of time matter so much to the speed of innovation?
Because here's a start for 10. There's a lot of smart people out there that would love to just spend the time working on stocks instead of being a wage slave, but they can't, except in their evenings, or late at night or early morning, because they've got to go and pay the rent, buy food for their granny, all that kind of thing. Just real life. People need they need
That's not
they
it.
need money
That's
back.
not it.
Not
Yeah.
everyone can
That's
spend,
true. That's true, but
can
that's
wait.
not. But that's not it. I think a closer example may be to say that if the theory of the Dreamcatcher is that the more the incentives are pushed out to the edges of the network, the faster the network overall will perform, and future returns are typically centered and are typically not available. Well, that by definition not available to the edges of the network. And so, if we can make the future available predictable, then it also means that people can work on things reliably. But if that future is immediately saleable to with let's assume the perfect scenario, which is that I can sell it for exactly what it's worth in 10 years' time right now, as opposed to it being a gamble, then that means that the edges can cash out instantly with no loss, with very little loss for the time, which is not a current situation, which means that the edges can like reinvest, re-up, retool, resupply, re-attack far faster than having to wait for these big rewards to come back, um, again, right? Because the lack of that big reward means they have to make trade-offs or compromises to do less than ideal things while they're waiting for the thing to arrive. But if you knew with certainty that it was gonna arrive, so you could sell it at a discount that was fair, then you're even faster, like significantly more faster. Does that sound more like the reason?
Yes, and may I say you are much more eloquent than I was. Um, but yes, the rate of innovation, to answer your question 3 questions ago, the rate of innovation requires the greatest number of innovators to be working on the greatest number of stocks. And how do you do that? And what you've just described is the optimization cycle for it.
So hang on. So
I
does
think
does
I'll go
that
through
does
that in
that mean
detail
then
because
does that mean then that a stable exchange of future value is actually a pillar of the Dreamcatcher that we had not declared before?
I think it is. And I think we're pause. Hold a second. Let me get this right. I think we're being emboldened because we've shied away from crypto coins. Because you can always throw out a crypto coin. It's easy. But what we're trying to do is much, much more than that. But we've been emboldened in that it looks like we've got at least 4 years of crypto coin friendly environment. And we were falling back on an inferior way of doing something similar, which was to, in our, 4 arrow, card set, the investors to come in and say in advance. But that's a really inefficient way of doing it because it's not at the edge.
So then, Mr. Maxwell, it would beg the question, why not have the index fund place investment markers down for innovators to pursue? Why only pay out on future value? Why not invest? Why is this intelligence not, why is this coin, this currency, this value system not an investment making machine as well as an investment appraising and buying, an investment trading machine? Why is it not active as well as passive, sir?
Okay.
A currency with a mind of its own that made its own investment decisions.
Sorry, man. Sorry, you're just repeating yourself now. Sorry, I didn't say pause. If I were an investor saying, is this a good place to put my hard-earned money? Because, everyone thinks their money is hard-earned, even those who inherit it. If I wanted to put my money into this, I would be appraising the Dreamcatcher and seeing how that performed the index fund against the entire thing, against putting my money into, a FTSE 100 index. And once it's in there, then once it's in the system, not only are they getting the benefit of this potentially optimal innovation, because optimally we're pushing out to the edge and enabling more innovators to hit more stocks and discover more stocks and get paid. It should be able to outpace anything that is the old style, which is dividends and people skimming and people relying on their, SEC reports and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I would assess it. I would assess if I was going to put in a chunk of cash, which I don't have, if I had to put a chunk of cash here, I would be saying, should I put it into the Dreamcatcher? Should I put it into the FTSE 100? Should I buy some property? Should I buy gold?
So what you're suggesting then is that actually the index fund is something that people can buy into, and it manages their but would that so in the same way as people buy Bitcoin, to buy Dreamcatcher is to basically buy a portion of this AI index fund that's intrinsically it's able to make smart contract controlled escrow placements to get work done that it has intelligently decided is of merit and will have return. Right. Now, go
ahead.
Would that not be separate from the system that manages the monetary supply, which is to say the price of raw computational cost? There should be an agent in charge of balancing that so that it stays fair and holistic. Why would they be the same thing?
It is absolutely separate, but it's separate in well count ways. In that, if you buy into an index fund, you assume that when you put that money in, unless it's a Ponzi scheme, your money is actually being fractionated and being used to buy stocks. Those stocks rely on computer systems. Maybe you're buying into one of these high frequency trading schemes that requires hardware. You're just assuming you don't care so much about the individual costs. You're looking at the top line. What you do care about is whether this is just a scam. And so, but if you're convinced, take a high frequency trading scheme. If you're convinced that this isn't a scam, I kind of get it. There's lots of technology involved. I don't need to understand it, but
It's
I've
almost
stuck
like
someone to
it's
look at
almost like
it,
we need to
and
strata
they
it or layer it because like you just don't want that kind of speculative behavior happening with the base stablecoin. You want to have the speculation happening still, but separately, and then you also want to pave the way for other. There should be innovation available to be had upon the index fund's intelligence, and so the way to do that is to have several different versions that are running, and people, the market can choose and have one aggregator that is like this bot exists to absorb the highest performing individual fund. So whenever it sees a well performing individual, it will assimilate the knowledge and tactics to grow this bigger thing. And I'm just wondering, does it need to be anchored into the intrinsics of the network, of the protocol, this one thing, or need you only anchor the intrinsics of the Federal Reserve or the money supply, and then all of these index funds are just they're just market forces sitting on top of the protocol as opposed to bound within it?
That's an interesting question.
It's interesting. I think these are
Uh,
good
yeah,
O1 Pro questions to reason through.
yeah.
But I think you're agreeing with me, right?
Well,
Like,
every time I say I am, I'm just working through it. Whenever you hear me say that's an interesting question, that is shorthand for I don't know. Let me think. um, it's imagine bear with me because we're on a bit of a speakeasy on this one.
okay, bearing with you.
Uh, um, uh, Imagine a real life situation where you could um, anyone could pop up as a stockbroker, but the rules were you needed to be in the top 10 percentile, otherwise you're getting fired next month. And you can generate millions of brokers, and then you amalgamate those. And if you get snuffed out, you're getting amalgamated into something at the higher level that's already gone, a bit like a Hunger Games kind of thing, uh, amalgamated into the higher level and higher level again. Then you've kind of got Darwinism in bots because you can spin up bots like stockbrokers. You can prompt it to do anything. Now, it would be sensible to go to the highest level because it's got the benefit of that selection bias of the bots that have made the right decisions of where to put the money. Um, if you wanted to, sure, you could go one level down, maybe. If you're really if it was your baby, and you could go straight down to a stockbroker who's only trading your assets, your stocks, your naps. But that would be like a high risk, but maybe some people
No,
would do
I
it.
feel like you're
But you could.
concentrating on people who are actively looking at this from an investment point of view. But
Hmm.
what I was intending it to be looked at was from the angle of the everyday worker who should really be able to say, well, my money is absolutely best left in the Dreamcatcher as opposed to extracted out. And the everyday worker who should be able to get paid the future value of their work now at a rate that's not,
Right. Okay. Let's
you know,
let's explore that. So, if I'd done some work and rather withdrawing it and buying milk and eggs, for some reason, eggs are a big thing. Um, I'm keeping it inside of the Dreamcatcher because I think that coin is going to um, be more valuable tomorrow than it was today.
Right.
Why would I think that?
Right.
Um,
Right. That's the
the
one.
reason the reason I think that is if there were um, if I believe that the AI tooling um, across everyone, not just me, but everyone is using this, are using models that make them far more productive, and that this edge that you mentioned, this edge optimizes for innovation by bringing in as many innovators as possible and incentivizing those innovators to solve stocks and create stocks for real world problems. If I believe that, then I would probably keep it in. I would probably keep as much of the coin in. I might take a little bit out to, buy a new laptop, faster laptop, or, pay the electricity bill
I've got an idea,
or
Mr.
Starlink
Maxwell.
or whatever.
I've got an idea.
Hmm.
Ambient attribution should extend to the traders. And so if you make a good trading algorithm, you should be able to get an attribution for every trade that gets made using your algorithm, so that we're saying that the Dreamcatcher trader is actually this one that has a fairly rigorous but simple way of assimilating a new algorithm in autonomously. And if you invent a higher performing method, that's your incentive. So instead of creating an incentive for like 1,000 different index funds to exist and win by way of advertising and popularity and other types of things, we want to make the same proposition that the Dreamcatcher tries to make. Make the core better is your best economic path. And so on that ground, I'd say that there is a need for a central protocol intrinsic trader to be put in place that can assimilate ever increasing performance, and it pays in terms of attribution.
In that description, a trader sounds an awful lot like an app.
It is an app. It's a trading app.
So it should be treated no differently from any other app.
No, it's placed specially in the protocol because it is the one that is in charge of a very special piece of state called the ledger.
No, I don't understand that. Everyone's got access to the ledger.
Yeah, but it is allowed to, for example, mint more coins or alter the exchange rate between Dreamcatcher and USD.
Oh, right. Hmm.
It's still an app, but it's
No,
protocol
no,
intrinsic
that
because it has power.
that would be, that would need a lot of thought. But I do like the idea.
Somewhere in
I
there,
just
these
don't know how
mechanisms
to
need to be
implement
there.
it.
Yeah, we don't have to solve it right now. I'm just trying to poke at some big chunks of infrastructure that feel within our reach now, thanks to this AI generative ability, and thanks to the hallucination of the crypto regulation. It seems like I would call the Dreamcatcher done if it had a currency that had these features we've described. And the flip side, if we don't reach these features, then it is not done.
I agree with you. We've just generated ourselves a whole ton extra work, but
Not really. Not really.
the a whole lot of more thinking. But that being said, um, essentially, from the outside world, from a punter, mom and dad crypto punter, um, they'd be looking at, okay, so you've got this coin that increases in value based on the increase in innovation.
Yeah.
If we can prove that, then what we're going up against is standard coins, which is the increase in value is the increase in people who are willing to take a risk on something that has nothing backing it, other than other people wanting to take a risk as
Well,
well.
I guess stocks would be the thing that we would be competing against. Like crypto coins, it just seems silly because it's like, what the hell is even behind them? But stocks is like, you can argue there's something of value there. But what we would propose is
Right.
like, there is definitely something behind this. It is the innovation of this network, and you can join it and you can use it and grow from it. But it's fair
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
It's
e-
fair money.
exactly. But unlike stocks, which are great clumps of organizations with all their flaws, with their HR departments, with their internal politics, all that kind of stuff that we
Mm,
hate, which is why we're trying to kill it all.
mm,
Those guys are less efficient than an innovation network.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, if we can get to that point and not end up in jail, that's done.
I would be prepared
Uh,
to get it done, and then yeah. I mean, look,
I don't think that, as far to my untried eye, we're not doing anything illegal in any of this,
yeah,
um, so long as we are honest with what we're saying we're
yeah.
doing with the funds coming in, and we actually do
Well, so
that.
long as it is actually
That's the only
genuinely a
place we can go wrong.
if it's a transparent AI that's genuinely in charge of the system, and all we ever did was
Right.
try to make the protocol hack proof, resilient,
Yeah.
censorship
Yeah.
resistant, and make the models.
Then I'll be comfortable with that.
Yeah,
I'll be comfortable with it. Just those very short rules. We're going to do what we say. We're not going to do anything weird, like siphon off the money and use it for
no,
something
well, it's
else.
transparent. Like
Um,
that's one of the core tenets of it.
exactly.
And as AI gets better and better, then really what we're saying is that there's a module that turns on in this global brain, which is the increased ability to place the bets as well as to distribute the rewards. Because the current
I know.
implication of the Dreamcatcher that we haven't explicitly declared, just implied it, is that the humans are the ones that place the bets. Ambient attribution is the one that pays out the bets, and that actually needs to be reassessed.
Yeah, we've implied it all along, haven't we?
Yeah, it's just gone without saying.
Uh, yeah,
Subtle, right? Like
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
very subtle. But if we can get these
Yeah.
three phases in place, number one, a base a base exchange rate manager for the exchange of computational resources. Number two, the automatic payout of rewards from the application of that um, intelligence resource. And then number three, the intelligence resource itself placing down incentive bets to then get paid out to its constituents. That's step number three is that's an autonomous innovation machine. That's done.
I agree
That's
with that.
done.
I would add a step zeros, which where we're kind of at the moment, um, which is on your side, figure out how, as an innovator, you use these tools, and on my side, having used them, what does this mean mathematically inside of attribution, and then over to you to implement, over to me to check, blah, blah, blah. So there's a
Yep.
stage 0, which is where we're at the moment, but I agree with
Yeah.
those 3.
Yeah. Okay. And can you see a stage beyond that?
Not really.
It's just incremental improvement of those pillars, right?
Yeah.
Intellectual
That's a big
computation.
question.
Intellectual computation.
Yeah.
Attribution for the application of that intelligence, and number 3, the intelligence being used to direct the application of that very same intelligence.
Yes, and
That's AGI,
why
right?
do we care? Well, why do we care is that we believe by um, pushing the incentives and understanding the incentives at the edge, we get more people doing useful stuff.
Right. But I
Generating
think
more
you need to
value
also
and
reassess
outpace.
your line of more people. You get more intelligences.
Or more, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
More work done in terms of James Watt
But isn't that
into the engine.
AGI if it's intelligence that's setting the targets,
Well,
intelligence
sure,
distributing the
the first
rewards?
person. Well, we haven't talked about this because I don't entirely believe that AGI is coming along, and I may rue that comment. But I don't believe AGI is there. What I think we're going to have is an increasingly useful tool. But the first person to have AGI would point it at the Dreamcatcher and then rule the world. by definition.
Why is
Because an
that
AGI,
system that I just described not AGI?
is not AGI. Because the system itself, AGI has a lot of additional connotations to it. It wouldn't necessarily be able to take, for example, remember I was talking about the edge of chaos thing. Something that is forward-looking, as in this is completely new, something nobody's ever thought of. Let's work on that. And you stuck. An AGI wouldn't necessarily be able to do that.
You're assuming that a
Whereas
human
people
could, though.
Well, humans have for many thousands of years.
Right, but okay, so another way to say it then, the Dreamcatcher network, as we just described it, as soon as we have a bot that's intelligent enough, as soon as the bot is smart enough to govern or direct what the work should be, as soon as the bot's telling me what to do, why is that not AGI? Does it need to be smarter than
in
me
a
to be in charge of me?
No, well, you just look at any line manager. That's obviously not true.
Right. So,
All you
yeah,
need to
I think
do
that's kind of
is
my
that
point.
person to be in charge of your. See?
I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is that AGI doesn't mean like this super genius. It just means smart enough to be in charge of me and better at it than I would be or any other human.
Yeah. If you were to define it that way, yeah.
How would you define it?
It's like having a really good agent or manager.
A really good manager, right? And people don't really look at their managers as human so much, and they often think that
Yeah,
their
because we
managers are
tend not to
stupider
be.
than them,
Yeah.
but but the manager is in charge, and so they are, by
Well, the reason,
definition, your superior.
yeah, well, just as an addition, there's the managers tend to manage people who are more specialized. or groups of people who are more specialized, and managers have a wider view. So, for example, if you're on the board, you have a view of finances, marketing, dev, CTO, the lawyer sitting in the corner scowling at you, and then you're having to tell the very very smart people who are very specialized what to do. That isn't saying that you're smarter than the people doing the really specialized stuff. It
Yeah,
just means they're more generalists.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Although I
Okay.
still don't like managers because they tend to be stupid. Anyway, um, that's just my bias.
I feel like that's the
Okay.
end of the Dreamcatcher. I really do.
I think this is something that this recording. Please tell me that this recording is going to be good. Um, I think this is enough to build out a framework around. Because at the moment, what I've been doing is building up from bottom up from what we've got.
Right. But this is coming
Or
top down, right? This
yeah,
this is coming.
so
This is saying this is
this is top
finished,
down,
and we're coming down the mountain, and we're gonna meet. We're gonna meet the detail stuff
right?
that's growing up from the bottom, and right, that should be able to take us
Right.
home,
And
basically.
our conversation today should be uh, relatively easily translatable by Pro into the formulae that are
Formulae.
required, which then is the target of the stuff coming up, which is also formulae, and then we meet in the middle. We dock, and we've got fucking generation ship. Yeah,
Such a bad word to use.
or something. I don't know. I don't know why I came
We
up
are
with
not going to talk.
But
Jesus Christ.
no, this has been a good one. Is
Okay.
there anything else you want to go through on this topic?
No,
Because
no,
otherwise, I'd
mate.
like
I
to
think I think
put
it's I
that
think it's
there
done.
and
I
have
think
that as
it's
a
done.
unit.
I think it's done. All right,
Yeah,
I'll stop the recording and I'll upload it to the YouTube. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah. Nice one.
I can't seem to get into my computer. If I leave, this room shuts down. Can I?
Oh shit! Because I've not got any recording on this side.
I'm gonna stop the recording.